Please subscribe and like the video before continuing. The successful song, Take Me Home Country Roads, introduced music listeners to a future classic. From Amazing John Denver. During the 1970s, the singer, songwriter, and actor was a top acoustic performer and a best-selling artist for 20 years. Denver was not only a beloved voice, but also a role model celebrity. Denver's personal life was so shocking off-camera that fans couldn't believe he was the same singer they loved and respected. Ex-wives' confessions and rumors of Denver's illicit activities were more disturbing than fans expected. The true nature of the man has been disclosed, surprising everyone after years of speculation. Denver was born Henry John Deutschendorf on December 31, 1943. Denver grew up in Roswell, New Mexico, with a family that enjoyed aviation, giving him the boyhood many boys dream of. Captain Henry Deutschendorf, Sr., his father, achieved 3 speed records in the B-58 Hustler bomber as an Air Force pilot. The individual was a military hero and was inducted into the Air Force Hall of Fame. For young Denver, the military life was insecure, despite its allure. The family relocated frequently, residing in Arizona, Alabama, and Texas. Denver struggled to form lasting friendships due to his inability to settle down. Soon after settling there, he would have to relocate again. He felt lonely and unwelcome, a sensation he carried throughout his life. While residing in Tucson, Arizona, Denver received a 1910 Gibson guitar from his grandmother at the age of 11. By the time it reached Denver, it was over 40 years old. With the guitar as a symbol of stability, he created music that provided solace during lonely times. He later joined the Tucson, Arizona Boys Chorus, where he studied harmony and public performance skills. Early in high school, he performed folk tunes at tiny shows. Music was evolving beyond a passion. It helped him find his position in the ever-changing world. His world includes his demanding father. Denver's father, Dutch, pushed him to excel in all areas. Denver was a humble soul who merely wanted to compose songs. The relationship between father and son was often strained. However, they both shared a strong interest for flying. When Denver learned to fly, they finally had something to enjoy together. They became closer. The activity's risk may have reminded them of the value of living loved ones. Denver's life would eventually be tragically affected by the same risk. Denver retained the freedom he felt from flying, which influenced his music. Denver attended Texas Tech University to study architecture after high school. But he soon discovered he wasn't interested in building design. He aimed to create music. He quit school and moved to Los Angeles. He changed his last name at that time. He favored Denver over Colorado's capital due to its beautiful mountains and rivers. It seemed like a new beginning. Denver received a significant boost in the mid-1960s. Among 200 auditionees, he was selected as the lead singer of the Chad Mitchell Trio. This was his first opportunity in the music industry. He had the chance to perform for audiences nationwide. The musician made 3 CDs during his 2-year tenure with the group. Being on stage boosted his singing confidence. Although life on the road was challenging, Denver embraced it and found his voice. Leaving on a Jet Plane was one of his most renowned songs at the time. The folk group Peter, Paul, and Mary covered it in the late 1960s, making it a #1 success on the Billboard charts by the end of the decade. Although Denver was not yet a well-known solo musician, his song demonstrated his ability to connect with audiences. After the trio split, Denver didn't look back. He was already climbing the charts independently. Going from group singer to solo star was challenging, but Denver made it appear effortless. His career flourished in the early 1970s with the release of his breakthrough album, Poems, Prayers, and Promises. The song, Take Me Home Country Roads, almost didn't become a classic. Initially, the song had sound issues and appeared to be unlikely to succeed. However, his new manager, Jerry Winrob, persevered. He encouraged radio stations in Denver, Colorado to play the song. It was released mid-April and slowly caught on. The song hit number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 by late August. It sold over 1 million copies and became gold that month. Over time, the song retained popularity, selling over 1.5 million digital copies in the US alone. Its impact was so significant that West Virginia included it in their official state song. In September 1972, Denver released a new album titled Rocky Mountain High. His sixth album was his first to enter the top 10 in the US. It reached number 4 on the Billboard 200 chart. The song, Rocky Mountain High, reached the top 10 of the Billboard Hot 100 in 1973, becoming one of his most popular. That year, it rated 29th on the year-end chart and proved popular among nature and outdoor enthusiasts. The album cover, taken near Slaughterhouse Falls in Aspen, Colorado, adds a personal touch to the song about Denver. Decades later, Rocky Mountain High became one of Colorado's 2 official state songs. The years 1974 and 1975 were Denver's most successful. In 18 months, he had 4 number 1 hits on the Billboard Hot 100. Sunshine on My Shoulders peaked at number 1 in March 1974. July brought Annie's Song. In May 1975, Thank God I'm a Country Boy reached the top. And I'm Sorry followed in September of the same year. These tunes showcased his diverse talents. Some, like Sunshine on My Shoulders, were kind and hopeful. Some songs, such as Thank God I'm a Country Boy, were energetic and joyful. Annie's Song, written in 10 minutes for his wife, became a wedding classic. Denver was widely broadcast on radio, television, and in millions of homes nationwide. He released 3 number 1 records during this golden era. Denver's Greatest Hits album, issued in 1973, surpassed Elvis Presley as RCA Records' best-selling record. In 1974, his album Back Home Again achieved triple platinum status in the US. In 1975, he published Windong, which had double platinum sales. These 3 albums established Denver as a music superstar. At the conclusion of his career, he composed roughly 200 of his 300 songs solo. In total, he won 12 gold and 4 platinum albums. Over 33 million copies of his music sold worldwide, making him a successful singer-songwriter of the 1970s. The move to Hollywood by Denver was both shocking and successful. In 1977, he co-starred with George Burns in the popular film Oh God. Although Denver had never performed before, his warm and honest nature won over spectators. The film, directed by Carl Reiner and based on a novel by Avery Corman, depicts a grocery store manager chosen by God to deliver a heavenly message. Denver's performance was authentic and relatable, allowing viewers to relate with his character. The film grossed over $51 million in the US and received an Oscar nomination for its screenplay. Although Denver did not return for the sequels, his initial performance demonstrated his versatility beyond singing. He was one of the few musicians who successfully transitioned into acting. Denver gained popularity outside the US, defying detractors' doubts. Jerry Weinenrob, Denver's manager, emphasized the need for direct engagement with international fans. In spite of reservations, Weinrab organized a series of TV specials for British audiences. He stated that since critics couldn't make Denver a celebrity, they turned to the people. The strategy worked well. Denver gained popularity in Britain and around Europe due to his friendly nature and clear singing voice. These specials demonstrated the power of television to showcase musicians and made Denver a global celebrity. An Evening with John Denver, his special, went on to win a Primetime Emmy Award, a prestigious television award. In previous specials, he played songs, told stories, and performed with pals. These shows brought his music to households throughout and globally. The personal touch in his performances made him one of the most beloved entertainers of his time. But Denver was more than just a vocalist. In the mid-1980s, he addressed the U.S. Senate. Parents requested warning labels for inappropriate music at the time. Although known for his soft tunes, Denver advocated for free expression. His song Rocky Mountain High was restricted due to a misconception that it was about drugs. He protected the right to speak opinions and explained the truth. Many believed he would endorse warning labels, but he did not. The impact of this incident on the debate over music and free speech is still felt today. Denver was the first American singer in almost a decade to play in the Soviet Union during the Cold War that year. He performed concerts in 11 cities, including Moscow, Leningrad, and Tallinn. His tour wasn't only about music. The goal was to bridge two distinct civilizations. Even non-English speakers were inspired by his music and peace message. The trip inspired him to write a song called Let Us Begin, advocating for peace over conflict. The tour was recorded and released as Live in the USSR LP. Denver returned to the Soviet Union in the late 1980s following the Chernobyl nuclear accident, which caused widespread displacement and health issues. He sang at a successful Moscow benefit performance, raising significant funds. More revenue came from the recordings. That night was not about politics. It was about kindness and care. The crowd felt seen and heard. Denver demonstrated that even one guitar player can have a significant impact. In the early 1990s, Denver introduced his music to China. After years of isolation, the Chinese people were interested about him. Songs like Country Roads were already being performed in classrooms. The government encouraged him to visit multiple locations, and one concert was aired to almost 2 billion viewers. People. Some considered hosting the performance at historic sites like the Forbidden City or Temple of Heaven. Chinese. The young people warmly welcomed him, and even the country's leader had noticed Denver in the past. This trip made him one of the most popular Western musicians in China at the time. Later in life, Denver prioritized assisting others. In the 1990s, he released Homegrown, a greatest hits album. All proceeds from the record supported homeless individuals. During this period, he also initiated the World Hunger Project. He won the Presidential World Without Hunger Award for his work. Fame helped him promote environmental causes and get support for the world. In Denver, the Winstar Foundation and Planted 2000 projects were established to plant trees and repair forests. Charity work grew as essential to him as his music. However, his personal life was filled with anguish. His marriage to Annie Martel started as a dream. The couple adopted 2 children, and Denver penned Annie's song in 10 minutes. As his celebrity grew, so did their relationship issues. Annie often experienced feeling invisible and lost in his shadow. The couple divorced in the early 1980s. The aftermath was chaotic and terrible. Denver was typically polite in public but exhibited a different behavior in private. He was reported to have become aggressive and unstable. Divorce was nasty and sad. When Annie hacked down several of his treasured oak trees at their Aspen home, Denver lost control. Instead of disputing, he arrived with a chainsaw and dismantled their furnishings. He even dismembered their bed. The event was a stark sign of a failed marriage. Friends and observers were surprised to see the same soft-spoken performer. Denver initiated the divorce. The abuse story in court documents tarnished his clean, wholesome image. Friends and past managers of Denver acknowledged Annie's terrible temper. Even though Annie remained silent after the divorce, Denver's reputation was already damaged. Many who formerly adored him now view him differently. In the mid-1980s, Denver met Australian singer and actress Cassandra Delaney at a Sydney hotel. While performing at the hotel bar, he was immediately drawn to her. Their romance accelerated. In the late 1980s, they celebrated a spectacular alpine wedding with loved ones. Although it seemed like a fairy tale, there were issues from the start. Cassandra later stated that being with a famous man was challenging. Denver was much older than her. Fame followed him everywhere, and his mood might shift quickly. Although they appeared great in public, tensions existed behind closed doors. In the late 1980s, their daughter Jessie was born. Denver had long felt he could not have children due to a childhood illness. Birthing Jessie felt miraculous. Some asked if they sought medical assistance to have her. Denver gained power when Jessie was born. Cassandra sensed his jealousy and distance. Their fragile friendship deteriorated. Cassandra was interviewed by an Australian magazine in the mid-1990s. The speaker regarded Denver as lacking genuine friends. Staff were intimidated by him. Secretary tears and resignations were common. The world saw him as compassionate. However, Cassandra said it was a prank. In private, he was often harsh and aggressive. She reported that he drank excessively, shouted at her, and attempted to dominate her life. She remained silent for a long time, hoping for a change, but nothing worked. The couple split in the early 1990s, then divorced a few years later. The legal fight was fierce. Denver sued Cassandra for millions, claiming she made him look dumb. Cassandra struggled for custody of Jessie. Denver later wrote about this in his book. He expressed tremendous pain from the divorce. He was never the same after that. In the mid-1990s, he published his autobiography, Take Me Home. It stunned many admirers. He discussed utilizing cannabis, LSD, and cocaine. The individual confessed to cheating on both of his wives. Even his first marriage to Annie Martel, which inspired Annie's song, was marred by adultery. His writing revealed instances of excessive violence. One story stuck out. He once cut a bed in half with a chainsaw during a quarrel. He lost his. Through 25 albums, including 13 gold and 8 platinum. His greatest hits album was RCA's best-selling record. In the mid-1980s, things began to alter. As the music industry shifted toward synthesizers and drum machines, Denver's sound became outdated. After RCA was sold to General Electric in 1986, the corporation prioritized savings and newer performers. Despite Denver's successful past with them, they let him go. He was shocked. After completing his next album, One World, he hoped his contract would be renewed. RCA decided to move on, believing they could earn more from other performers. Denver claimed that despite his years of profit, they had taken him for granted. Since no other label was interested, he released his next albums under his own label, Windstar. The lesson learned is that even successful artists can fall behind changing music trends and economic ambitions. Almost time, Denver accumulated almost 20,000 hours of flight time. He obtained licenses to fly single-engine, multi-engine, glider, and even lighter aircraft. However, his personal difficulties caught up with him in the 1990s. Denver was arrested twice for DUI. To ensure pilots are fit to fly, the Federal Aviation Administration mandates a valid medical certificate. Upon his second arrest, his medical certificate was not renewed. Without the certificate, his pilot's license was useless. Restoring it required proving he no longer had a drinking problem. However, he never finished the process. Flying was once his greatest thrill, but it was now gone. Moreover, his response to FAA orders was problematic. After receiving certified letters requesting his medical certificate, he either disregarded or returned them unopened. Legally, this created a loophole. Due to his refusal of the letters, the FAA was unable to revoke his license. He could fly on paper, but not because he was physically fit. It was only because the system required his assistance. The loophole was closed in March 1997. Denver signed a certified FAA letter, allowing them to ground him. From then on, all his flights were unlawful. Returning to flying status would have required proving sobriety and following all the requirements he had broken for years, but Denver declined. Despite this, he continued to fly. He took out a newly purchased experimental aircraft on October 12, 1997. He practiced takeoffs and landings near Mount Terry, California. The pilot had just acquired the plane for one day and had only spent 30 minutes with an instructor before flying it alone. The plane was significantly modified and difficult to operate. One important issue was the fuel selector valve. The device was relocated behind the pilot's left shoulder, making it difficult to access. When switching tanks, Denver had to twist awkwardly in his seat and reach back. The valve was difficult to turn and required pliers. The gasoline gauges were behind him, making them difficult to view. He required a portable mirror for inspection. Even then, the readings were unclear. The pilot depleted the left gasoline tank during takeoff and landing practice near Mteri Peninsula Airport that morning. Witnesses reported hearing the engine splutter and then stop. After running out of petrol, Denver attempted to switch to the correct tank. He achieved this by reaching behind him and turning the valve with pliers. While doing so, he accidentally pressed the right rudder pedal. After a rapid nosedive, the jet plummeted into the Pacific Ocean in seconds. Denver was instantaneously killed. The National Transportation Safety Board discovered that Denver had insufficient gasoline, with only 3 gallons in one tank and 6 in the other, when the flight began. His unfamiliarity with the plane was cited as a primary cause of the tragedy. They also highlighted dangerous design alterations that made mid-flight fuel tank changeover almost impossible. Although Denver was a talented pilot, he was not adequately prepared for this plane flight. The crash may have been prevented, according to the investigation. If Denver had refueled, trained, or used a safer fuel system, the accident may have been avoided. His final flight tragically demonstrated how minor missteps and ignored warnings can result in tragedy. Denver's death in the late 1990s was not a mere tragedy. A wake-up call. Although millions mourned the loss of a famous folk musician, the crash exposed a more complex personal life. Denver's passion for flying often led to dangerous behavior. The pilot was notorious for performing glider feats with the engine off and flying without medical approval. Actions indicated a tendency of pushing limits, sometimes in harmful ways. He continued to fly despite repeated warnings from aviation authorities and the removal of his medical certificate. The incident highlighted several poor choices. Using a plane with known design issues, flying with limited fuel, and flying alone without a flight plan. These decisions were not arbitrary. They were part of a bigger pattern of dangerous behavior that led to disaster. Although no drugs or alcohol were found in his body, his image was already harmed by previous DUI charges and a mid-1990s crash involving alcohol. Despite these limitations, Denver's legacy remains strong. The music of this artist resonates globally with themes of peace, love for the earth, and deep emotion. Classics like Take Me Home, Country Roads, Annie's Song, and Rocky Mountain High remain popular in folk and country music. He was among the first notable artists to prioritize environmental care in their work, before it became a widespread concern. Ultimately, John Denver is remembered for his connection to nature and music, rather than his poor life choices. His 15-foot bronze statue at Red Rocks Amphitheater pays tribute to the magnificence of the guy who walked the country roads.